Hey everyone. In this video, we're going to explore one additional feature of Python's unit test module. So in my file myfunctions, I've added a new function, bigger, which takes two lists and then returns true if the sum of the elements in the first list is greater than the sum of the elements in the second list. Let me switch over to the second file, where I've written some unit tests for this function. As you can see, there are three tests, each with one call to bigger. I can certainly run these tests. Now let me save this file. And then I can run the tests. Now one thing you might notice about these tests is they all have these two base lists, 1, 2, 3, and -3, 4, 10, -20, they all have those in common. Now, when I was writing these tests, it wasn't too hard for me to write out these lists. But as you can imagine, when we start using more and more complicated data structures and classes, we don't want to manually create these objects every single time. So instead, we're going to use a special method of the Unittest test case class, which is called setup. And the reason setup is so useful is that it's called every single time a test is run. And what that means is I can initialize certain attributes here like that, and then actually use them in my tests. And by doing so, I'm going to save myself a lot of work, because this means that whenever I want to create new objects and use them in multiple tests, I can create the new objects up here in the body of setup, and then use them whenever I want in any of my tests. And just to prove to you that I'm not lying, let's run that. And the other thing that I wanted to show you today is something that people often overlook when they're writing unit tests. Because you often get so caught up writing these individual test methods, which always start with the word test, you might get in the habit of only writing these methods. But of course, unit test files are just like any other type of Python file. And so if you see a lot of repetition in your code, this might be a good time to write helper functions. For example, for this very simple method, I could write a helper function called assertBigger. Where all it does is it calls self.assertTrue of bigger, and then the two lists. And now that I have this helper function, instead of doing this, I can say instead self.assertBigger of self.list1 and self.list2. Notice that in this example, I didn't save myself too much typing by creating this helper function. But as you might imagine, once you start writing tests for more and more complex situations, if you find yourself writing a lot of tests in the exact same way, that's a good time to use helper functions in your test cases. Thanks for watching and have a great day.